Hello. I hope. So, hello everyone. Thank you joining my talk, a guide through publishing white label apps in a healthy way. So, before I go into this stream, let's into the talk. Let's let's talk a bit about me. My name is Stefan May. I live in Germany. I do Android development since 2014 already. I'm currently a senior Android developer at ioki, and yes, that's about me. Before we go deeper into the actual presentation, I have to tell you a bit about my current employee. ioki was founded in 2017, and it's a subsidiary of Deutsche Bahn. And what we are doing, we're providing a platform to our customers to enabling them to provide a demand response transport service to complement their existing public transport um, alternatives like a normal tram or a train or something. We providing a software as a service stack. We provide with consulting with APIs only, but additionally also with white label apps. You may ask yourself what a white label app is. At its core, it's basically one app, but it comes with different sizes and shapes, like you can see here on those screenshots. Um, it's the same app as that, but it has different splash screens or colors or icon or string overrides. And yeah, we currently do more and more of those white label apps. We have state today 38 apps public in the App Store, as well as, of course, in the iOS App Store. Where it all starts, ioki was founded again in 2017. We had just one app, the ioki app, and it acted as a test balloon. We set up the release process like default normal way. We choose Bitrise as our CI/CD server, and we automated the releases via a Gradle plugin. We decided that we want to release each 2 weeks, so each end of sprint. The responsibility for this had a so-called release officer, which was one of the team of the Android team member, which consists of 3 or 5 people, depending on which time you uh, worked at ioki. At Bitrise, we had one workflow, or still have one workflow, which is called create release, and you only have to provide a version name for this workflow. The version code will be calculated automatically. Bitrise then fetches the main branch, does the linting, does the testing, build the app, and finally release to the Play Store to the internal track. Afterwards, a manual testing happened from the back then head of mobile because, well, we were a startup. We do not have the money for proper QA engineers or something. And in case the test succeeded, the release officer went to the Play Store and moved the app from the internal track to the production and the alpha track. And well, this process is good and it's a nice process as long as you have only one app or at least not more than a handful of apps. Afterwards, ioki entered the white label app market. So the decision was made. We want to do white label apps instead of only one app. And how did we do this? We created so-called build flavors. What are build flavors? Build flavors are basically a small flag within your code, which tells, okay, this is the main code, and here are a few overrides for this specific build flavor. Please override those stuff from the core app, and then you have, well, multiple apps. You can build multiple apps. And other stuff, were not touched yet. So everything was as it was before. But the problem was, or what the problem, we grew and we created one white label app after the other. And the first problems occurred. The first problem was that the build time increased quite a lot because the build tool, which is in our case Gradle, has to do something for each app. So even if we do not create those apps yet for testing or something, it does some initial setup because you could potentially create those apps and thus increase the build time. Also, the developer productivity suffers quite a lot because the time from starting a build, so saying I want to deploy on a device, or yeah, the time from I click on in my IDE, clicking on build the app and deploy to the device, and finally deploy it to the device increased. And in this time, if this is too much, then you start thinking about, okay, now it's deployed on the device, but what do I actually want to test? Or yeah, maybe while you stare on your screen and wait to the app build and deployed on the device, maybe found a mistake in your code or something, or do this little change. Maybe it does not harm the app or the code at all. And yeah, all of this leads to the problem that the developer productivity suffers. The solution for this was that we created so-called build flavor filters. So this means we told Gradle basically, or we fake Gradle that we say, okay, this is only, please take care only of for this specific build flavor. Keep the rest out for now. And this solves the problem that the build time increased, of course, because Gradle now only create one app, which is not filtered out. Another problem, which is quite similar, is that the flavors, those build flavors, were defined in the application module. This means that the library modules automatically inherits all those flavors, and therefore we're also aware of all of those. And this increased the build time even further. An interim solution for this was that we moved out the flavors from the application module into a library module and applied those flavors module only in the application module. So with this change, we make sure that only the application knows about all those flavors, those white label apps, but the rest of our other libraries does not see those flavors, and therefore build time decreased. Another problem was that no one wanted to be the release officer anymore. Because, well, remember our publishing process. We manually moved the apps from the internal track to the production and the alpha track. And imagine this for one app is fine, but having this for 20 apps or 25 apps is quite hard. As you can see here, this is an example how we published one app, a single app. So what has the release officer to do? He has to go to the Play Store, select a specific white label app, go to the release management section, choose the track which needs to be updated, so alpha or the production track, click on release, choose the latest uploaded APK, select the release nodes, clicked on save and review, set the rollout rate to 30%, and then finally hit rollout. And again, this was for just one app for a single track. So the release officer has to repeat those for all of the other tracks, and some too, but also for all other white label apps, which are at this time maybe 20 or 25. So this was quite hard. But if you think the fun stops here, no, it doesn't. Because in step 9, we said, okay, the rollout rate for these apps should be initially at 30%, but after 3 or 6 days, they should be, and 6 days, they should be increased to 70 and then to 100% again. So the release officer is not done yet with this one-time show, but also have to go to the Play Store after 3 and 6 days again and has to do something. Another thing was that we have other different stores. So we have our own Play Store where we have most of our apps, and this is 100% managed by us. Then we have other Play Stores. So a customer set up their Play Store, but the release process was managed by us. Plus, we have a case where we have another Play Store, which is not managed by us, and therefore we have to provide an APK or a bundle in another way. And to solve all of those hassle, we decided to investigate a bit more time into our tooling and created our own Android publishing CLI tool. What you can see here on those screenshots are the real requirements of the CLI tool, which was written by an Android developer for other Android developers. But yeah, with that new tool, we were able to simply say on the command line, okay, please give me all the apps we have in our stores, doesn't matter where, and show me the information in a YAML file. Then we can make changes on those YAML file and press on the command line. Okay, now publish those changes to those different stores, and that's it. So this is pretty great, and we still use it today. So halftime show. The local build time isn't a problem throughout flavor filters, as well as the release process is better for developers because we have now our own publishing tool. And one might say, yeah, but what about the CI server? Well, we have flat rate, so it doesn't matter, right, how long it takes. One other might say, okay, what about features for single customers? So features which only needs to be implemented in one specific app. At this time, we don't have it, so we don't have a need for it. So let's ignore it for now. But we, of course, want to fix those problems as well. So we started to improve our app architecture quite a lot. Reminder, currently the situation is that the app has the application has a dependency to our flavor modules, and the other libraries kind of, and that's a problem, could potentially include those flavor library as well, and therefore can be aware of all of those flavors again, which we want to be avoid. And another problem was that those single features, in case they are coming and there was something on the horizon which might say, okay, we might have those sooner than you think, those single features would be hard to implement with the current architecture, and especially could accidentally leak into other parts of the app. So the solution was that we decided to move all this white label or flavor specific stuff into their own standalone Gradle project. And the app, the old app code, was moved into a new library. So as you can see here on the left side, this was our old architecture. So it was just one big fat Gradle project. It has an application module. It has as a dependency the libwla, which is white label apps, has a dependency, and other features and library modules. And we changed this now, as you can see on the right side. The new architecture looks like that we created a new Gradle project within another Gradle project, but it's just a structure. It doesn't matter; they are independent now. Within the Android in the ioki directory, it's a whole new Gradle project, and this includes now the ioki library, and the ioki library takes care now of all those other features to be included in the specific white label apps. And this change in our architecture solves quite a lot of problems, because we have now a hard separation between our core functionality, the library, and the white label apps. The usage of flavors in our core is technically not possible anymore. And this is what we wanted to archive. But also those single features, so feature will only be required by a specific app, can only be implemented in the white label apps project, on the new ioki white label apps project, without touching the core at all. So we can now add dependencies which are not shipped to all of those white label apps. This also improved the build time on CI as well, because those library has only been built once and can then be reused by the other white label apps, because the artifact which was built for the kind of first white label apps is already there, and Gradle knows that and detects this and say, okay, I will reuse this. I do not have to build the library code or the core code again. And another problem which solves this, we now have different responsibilities between our Android teams. And you might say, what? I told you only about 3 or 4 Android devs. No, we found out that the Android team focused kind of purely, or at least 1 or 2 developers, those 3 or 4, focused only on those creating white label apps or improved the tooling of those white label apps, and they kind of lost the track on adding features to the app or fixing bugs. And the solution was that we hired a new cross-functional team, which is called the project implementation team, which focused purely on project implementations, therefore on the Android side, on white label apps, as well as iOS side white label apps, but also on those specific in the backend, because it's cross-functional. This team does not consist only of mobile devs, but also of a designer, as well as a backend dev and a release manager. So, summary of all of those. Our initial release process is still used kind of as a foundation, but we decreased our local build times with build flavor filters. We improved the manual release process by quite a lot by creating our own publishing tool. We adapted our app architecture to improve the overall build time, not only for us, but also on the CI. And we introduced a second Android team who focused on white label apps and specific features only. Maybe a short outlook. What's also planned is that we could publish the core library to our internal Nexus, and on the release day, we could consume this library, this core library, in our white label apps. That has quite a few benefits, like it's decreased the release build time, especially on CI, of course, quite a lot, because it never has to be built the core library again. So it just can download the ready-to-use artifact from our Nexus. Also, the white label apps, as well as the core library, could have independent release circles. There is no testing or linting happened on the release day anymore, at least not for the core library project, because well, the core library project has a different release cycle, and when they release, linting and testing happen, but not on the release day anymore. And white label apps, new white label apps, or white label app hotfixes or changes are independent from the core library changes. Conclusion or final words are that we could only scale and publish so many apps easily and healthy because we invested in our tooling regarding release process and build times. And we tackled the problems when we already see potential problems in the near future and not at the time when we already have those problems. So maybe as a key takeaway for you, you should really care about your process or about these release processes as much as you care about a clean application source code, because releasing is a first-class citizen. Thank you. And if you have any questions, then feel free to ask. That's it.